Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast, where we focus our lens on business. We will cover the art of business and everything in between. Join your host, Rob Moorman, a seasoned photographer and RV park owner with over 27 years of experience, as he captures insights from industry experts and fellow entrepreneurs. From mastering customer service to igniting creativity, we explore the common threads that weave through successful businesses. Get ready to click, snap, and discover on the Camera Dude Podcast.
Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast. My name is Rob Moorman, and I am the Camera Dude, your host. Hang out with us today to discuss all things business. I have a guest today that blows my mind. He is innovative, active, energetic, and he plays the drums. And he's a dad and a husband and a million other things. But I'll let him introduce himself, so give a welcome to Josh Naaman.
Hey, first off, I wanted to congratulate you. So this is the first day of recording. You are getting your podcast, which is amazing that you've taken the leap to do your podcast. There's a lot of people in the world who deserve to have a voice. Everybody has their own voice, but you do. And I first wanted to congratulate you because this is an awesome step, and I can't wait to listen to your episodes. It's an honor that you wanted me on it. I might be a little biased because we're helping produce it, but our partnership has been so meaningful. So before I start talking about myself, I just wanted to let you know that our relationship, I consider it a friendship at this point. Knowing you for over 2 years now has been an honor. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. We always have fun talking. And so I wanted to get that right out. Also, your experience and your knowledge in business and your trade of photography is extensive. And so I really think it's going to be a very valuable podcast for people to listen to too. So I'm stoked.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect to get all mushy, but I am. I appreciate that. And I have to say that, we met through networking, and instantly you walked in the room and I went, this guy here, I can do business with, I could hang out with. And I found out more about your personal life, which we'll get into in a minute.
Cool.
And that just opened the doors for me to know that this is probably going to work out.
Yeah.
So it was a good thing. So thank you for that. And thank you for setting up this opportunity. If I hadn't met you, I wouldn't have been motivated to do this.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. I've always thought about it. I've always been in front of large crowds teaching and so on, but I've never had a podcast, and I really didn't know where to start. I met you, you stood up, did a commercial in our networking group and said, here we go. So that's a good thing. And on that note, that's how we met, right?
Yeah.
We're in an organization who the president of the South Pinellas Network Professionals Incorporated, NPI, owns it. And Josh and I are in the same chapter, the Sunrise chapter. And he joined and came in as a website kind of design. You also do a lot of other work, and I want you to share that so that it doesn't come directly from me. But because of what you do, I went, I can work with this guy.
Sure.
And then I met you, and I'm like, I can hang out with this guy. So it's going to be an exciting time today with this, and I know that we have a lot in store in our future as far as business goes as well. So do me a favor. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Just start from the beginning. Go way back. Who are you? Where'd you come from? And to what you're doing today.
All right. It started in 1989. Hospital room, stark white. No, I'm just kidding.
I love it.
But, I've been in a lot of roles within the marketing, design, creative professions. So I went to undergrad at Purdue University. I popped out a computer graphics generalist. So I thought I was going to be an animator. I wanted to work at Pixar, and I got into undergrad, and it was just a general program. So I learned design, illustration, web, animation, and a lot about the production pipeline.
Awesome.
And right out of college, during college, I worked at several agencies, marketing, interactive design agencies, and just right away jumped in. And I started to teach at the Art Institute right out of undergrad. And I taught there for 6 years, which was an amazing experience. It really leveled me up. And I thought I wanted to teach full time. I always am going to be a teacher. I'm just going to do it in a different way moving forward. But I thought I was going to be a full-time teacher. And so I went and got my master's at Indiana University.
Wow.
And I studied, really, I focused on documentary film production and audio production, predominantly podcasts. I want to fill the voids that I didn't learn in undergrad.
Awesome.
And so ultimately, my trajectory has always been filling holes of the creative production realm and the marketing realm. What I didn't know, I want to fill it in so that I have a really good idea of, the full pipeline. And I know that you know a lot about that pipeline and can appreciate that it's so nuanced and so deep. And I would never claim to know the whole thing. But that's, for my technical and design. I'm a designer at heart. Visually, that's what I love to do. But now we just make things function and put it into context of marketing strategies and helping build businesses. But, as a creator, I also have been a musician my whole life, grew up playing guitar. Drums found me in undergrad, and I never looked back. And I've been drumming ever since, played on big stages. I've played with Jordan here recording us on awesome shows. I played at like Ruth Eckerd Hall and Hard Rock and the Floridian. Those are some of my favorite shows. And
awesome. Well, those are the commonalities that we have.
Yeah.
As you know, those that are listening may not know, I started in the motion picture industry way back in the 80s. And I think it was 85, 84 or 85, somewhere in there. And I did a 10-year run in that industry and loved it. No training, unlike yourself. I had a good friend who was scheduled to be on this podcast after a little while who said, hey, come out and help. We're doing a production for Orange Crush Soda. It was an international ad. It was a big deal. And all I was doing was carrying chairs and setting up and doing things of that nature, and fell in love with the industry and climbed the ladder by learning through the School of Hard Knocks. And I didn't climb to the top. I got about halfway up and decided, okay, I need to get an education, and, of course, became a professional photographer. But we also have drums in common.
Oh, yeah.
So you're trained. Same thing. Typical Rob Moorman kind of way is I jumped in with both feet and just started playing drums. But
me
there's
too.
several drummers in the family. You have, I don't know if you have a history of drummers, but we do.
No.
Okay.
Musicians, but not drummers.
My father was a phenomenal guitar player. Phenomenal. And when the guitar was bigger than I was, he wanted me to play. He bought me one. I still have it to this day in a closet, never picked it up. I found the drumsticks, and, he's gone now, but I know he was frustrated that I didn't actually pick up the guitar and learn to play the way he did. He was incredible. But anyhow, tell me about your family.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're the reason for my motivation and inspiration to this point. I have a lovely wife, Hyundai. We've been married. We're going on 10 years, which is wild. And we have a daughter, Nova, who's the light of my life. She's about to turn 2, which is just as crazy to even think about. But, we were just talking about how I start my day to her coming and giving me a big hug. And honestly, it's a huge motivator for my business. It really, when she was born, it calibrated my life. I've had a good head on my shoulders, but that took me to the next level of like really taking life seriously and being who I wanted her to see me as, being a role model, a true role model. And I really changed my life for a better when she was born shortly after, because there was some calibration be had, but I feel like I'm in a really good spot. And
do you find that there was a level of, and not that you were immature, but a level of maturing that took place when she was birthed?
100%. Immediately in that moment. And, a lot of people were telling me when we were first pregnant, like, oh, your life, you're in for a big change. And, I just thought, like, my goodness, people are just hyping this up. And there's no way to understand it without going through that. But right when she was born, I feel like this switch happened. It was just, and it was something was on. The biggest switch I felt is that I did not know that love could be so big. I felt like my heart grew 10 times in that moment.
Phenomenal.
It was truly hard to put into words. I immediately started crying. I cried for about 3 days sitting in the hospital because we had a more complicated birth. I say we. My wife, she unbelievably
you
powerful.
went through it with her, though.
It was a
she
journey.
felt all of it, but you were there
Right.
for her. I'm sure of it. I know you. So, yeah. Well, it's interesting to hear you say that. My wife and I couldn't have kids, so we don't. I love kids, and I think my boss, God upstairs, he has a sense of humor in the sense that I photograph over 4,000 school kids, and they start in preschool all the way up to 8th grade. So I'm surrounded by kids, and because we go year in and year out, 2 or 3 times a year for sports, pictures, or whatever, you get to know these kids.
Sure.
And so when they graduate from young, when I first meet them, all the way through their 8th grade, and I never see them again, I'm kind of heartbroken. So I just see the humor in the fact that I couldn't have any, but yet I have
4,000.
And to be honest with you, I know a lot of them by name and their personality because you see them. And so you get to care about these kids and worry about them.
Sure.
So it's a different outlook than what you have, and we weren't able to experience that. But at the same token, we have nieces and nephews that live, and now a great niece that's in our life and a great nephew. And so now we worry about them.
Oh, certainly.
And, we helped with our niece quite a bit, and Mom was working and traveling and, whatever. So she grew on you. So
and you've got the dog and the business.
Yes.
Like my business is a baby.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of care, a lot of work, so there's a lot of love to be.
Tell me about your businesses, just really brief, and then we're going to get into the heart of what we're here for. But your businesses, you have Naaman Creative, which is what got me doing this podcast, but you do web design, right? What else?
So building businesses is kind of like the easy way to put it. We help grow businesses. And so we start with branding, which is logos and your identity. So whether it be business cards, presentations, letterheads, blah, blah, blah. It's like putting together your brand. And then websites usually come next because we want to do it in order. What are we building on your website if we don't know the brand? And so I always make sure to go in order. And websites are a big ongoing thing, design and development, management, maintaining.
When it comes to that, I get the word continuity. When I think of marketing. I don't have a degree in marketing, but I've been in business 27 years. So I made a ton of mistakes and made quick turnaround on those mistakes so that they hopefully would go unnoticed as I was learning. And some of them, loss of clients, gain of clients, and all of those things you go through in the life of a business. Continuity when it comes to logo, the look of a website, the look of a business card, the look of printed or any digital marketing that goes on has to be the same. How important do you think that is to bring out the professionalism in a business, the trustfulness that someone could get just from seeing those materials before they even meet the business owner?
Yeah, I think it's essential. I mean, you think about these foundational elements and how do you get people to take you seriously? Show that you're legitimate, make people remember you. If you don't have a brand or an image that's cohesive across the board, or you don't have one, you're missing out on so much opportunity to make the cycle, whatever that is, more seamless. I always look at it as like a metaphor of friction. If I have one version of the logo here and another version there and a different name here and a different name there and different looks, I'm just increasing the amount of friction that it takes for someone to go, oh yeah, I'm going to go with Naaman Creative, or I'm going to go with Moorman Photo. That's a no-brainer because it's just easy. And, you think about the great brands out there and if I mention Apple right now, everybody's seeing what it would be to, go into an Apple store or to open a box with an Apple product or look at the phone. You can kind of start to see their brand. Branding is not just the look, it's the feel. How do people feel about it? And they've created a world. You need to create a world to build.
Do you feel also, because you just touched on something that's important, whether it's a one-man business or a massive corporation like Apple, which I'm a big Apple fan myself, is also the experience.
Yeah.
So in a portrait session, I'm really selling an experience, whether it's a simple headshot for someone in the corporate world or a family coming to me, studio or on location or wherever we end up. I want them to laugh. I want them to have fun. I want them to have experience, but I also want to be able to control the posing and the lighting so that we can derive a positive look. But a lot of the times they look at those photographs and they remember their experience that they had with their family that we provided for them when they see those final images hanging in their home or in an album somewhere or even in an electronic state that they're going to use these images in. And so tell me about experience as well, because when you walk into a business, I find that businesses that fail, I can almost tell immediately because the experience isn't what it should be.
Yeah.
So I saw an experience yesterday at a restaurant. Maybe we'll talk about that a little later, because
Sure.
I watched to see how they handled it, and even though the customer was off a little bit, finicky-wise, they didn't handle it well. And so I watched this whole thing go downhill. I couldn't eat my dinner. I was too fascinated at this almost television show going on next to me, because I love business. And I thought of this very podcast when it was going on. But tell me about experience. What do you think when someone comes to Naaman Creative, or they meet with you, from presentation to what you say, what you offer, and how they feel?
Yeah. Well, number one, we're all human, and, we want to enjoy the process of whatever we're doing. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want very similar things, and we want to enjoy that. And if your process, if your experience takes away from making that easy or nice or pleasant, if there's, again, that's part of friction, where it's like, oh my gosh, that guy was a jerk. I don't like this process. Number one, they're not going to refer you. Number two is, if they have a website and they remember this awful experience through it, even though it's a killer website, they're going to be bummed about it in a way. I mean, they could probably get over it, but it's not good. And it all comes down to that. Like, for instance, I'm thinking about you, because I want to talk about you too.
Yes.
My family did portraits with you. I've been in the studio with my drums with you, and you've both times were absolutely pleasurable experiences. There was not one moment where it was like, whoa, that was weird or awkward. You made it fun. You made us laugh, and you crushed the job. You checked all those boxes, and I know you've been doing it for a long time, and you've crafted that, not only the technique of your productions, but the process and that experience. You do that very well. And I don't think that happens immediately, but I also think that, like for me and my team, Jordan sitting here, myself, my developer, my designer, my account manager, we all are on the same page on, like, first off, we're talking to other humans, like, let's make this, what are we all doing? At the end of the day, is like, why are we going to be mean? Why are we going to be upset? Why are we going to make things any harder than they need to be or already are? So let's all take a beat, and enjoy ourselves, and make sure that client enjoys themselves. And it's a lot of times it's like communication and not being so serious. Oh, this is happening. We're going to take care of that. Or you need this. We got you. And by the way, how you doing?
Most of the time, I find a client is really just wanting you to say, I am so sorry that happened.
Sure.
I've got this.
Yeah.
Let me take care of it. And then in the end, maybe give them a little extra.
100%.
And they will be giving to others. I have a client, I won't mention names, but I think that they were having a bad day. But they called the studio, and there were school pictures, and these pictures aren't good enough for my dog. And she was angry. And my poor wife at this point, who works at the studio, is upset. So I take the phone, and the lady started with the same verbiage. So I didn't know what to do, but I went into an Anthony Robbins thing, who I watched, where you distract from the problem and bring it back. So she kept mentioning the dog thing. So I started barking. And I do a pretty good dog. Should I do a dog on the podcast?
Yeah, you definitely should.
Hang on, it's a poodle. I'm going to start laughing. Yeah, I can't do it. There you go.
Wow.
So
wow.
I use that to make children smile when I'm photographing them in schools, especially the preschoolers. But I started barking towards this lady, and not derogatory. She kept using the word barking. Well, by the time it was over, she was belly laughing. And when it was done, I solved her problem, and she bought like $1,000 more of whatever it was we were dealing with. So sometimes you've just got to have fun with it. But my heart states that you have to love your clients as if they're your family. They are my family. If it wasn't for clients, neither of us would exist in business, right? And so you actually have to care. If there's a client that is hurting, Moorman Photographics, not to get business, we step up because we actually care.
Certainly.
And that's not a kudos thing. That's really something that we like to do, because if it wasn't for them, who are we? We're no one.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Right, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So we care. And you will get people that are going to not be happy no matter what you do. So, and then we'll jump into the notes here. But I learned this from a friend of mine. He was an eye doctor. And he had happened to pass by my studio right after I had had a bad experience with a client. And so I pulled him aside, older gentleman, he's almost 70, now he's retired. And I said, what did you do in your practice when you had a client that wasn't wrong, although I was going to treat them as if, or wasn't right, pardon me, I was going to treat them as if they're right and take care of the problem. And when I did, it still wasn't enough. And he said, I kindly refer them to someone else, and I put my energy into a new client that actually cares. And I took that to heart. Now, it's not that I'm against that client. I wish them well. I gave them all their money back, plus the images we had for them. And thankfully, for the listeners, that doesn't happen often. I can maybe in 27 years, 5 times, you know.
Sure.
And a lot of times there's somebody that was having a bad day, or there was something in that photograph. We'll come to find out that lady was going through some personal things. And that's what was eating her up, not the photography. And we were able to contend with that. So those types of things are important. But you have to provide more than is expected, sooner than they expect it, and consistently. So my mentor in photography, his name is Bruce Evanson. I should have him on this at some point. Bruce is now teaching fly fishing, how to tie flies for fly fishing over at Bill Jackson's and on YouTube. And I don't know, he's 70-something. But he always taught photography, and he had a very successful studio here in town. And he taught me a lot. So we'll get into those things from him. And the biggest one was simply that if it doesn't work out, move on, the same as the doctor. And so I've heard it more than once, so we follow it more than once, if that makes any sense.
Certainly.
So tell me something, because you're in digital marketing, which I respect, because I've been around long enough that I had a world without it and a world with it. So I'm right in the middle of that. What are some of the things, Josh, that you're doing to get people aware of your business today? And which one do you think maybe works best, or how are they working hand in hand even?
Yeah, great question, loaded question. Number one is, I like to call it marketing through execution. So number one is we need to do good work and execute the experience that people feel, as well as that final product. And that is number one, going to market ourselves. Oh, who did your logo? Who did your website? Who produces your podcast? Sounds great, looks great, works great.
So would you say that in doing that, it creates an energy and an inertia, forward motion?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can advertise like crazy and get them there, but once they're there, you have to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could advertise, pay a bunch for advertising, say we're the best ever, and we have shoddy products.
Right.
And then people come and they're like, what are we doing here? I'm out. But the proper execution, both for the experience and the way clients talk about us to others to refer, and the product that they're left with markets itself, markets for us.
I agree.
And then our efforts on top of that compound it, you know, and on top of that, number one, I would say, is networking, how you and I met. That has been the biggest driver for business. It's going out in person, going out into your community and saying, hey, I'm here, I care, I'm involved, and you can expect to see me here consistently, so you can trust me. And here I am. You know, you can get to know me. And building those relationships, that's everything. You can only do so much on social media or online.
Somewhere on my notes is this question, but I'm going to jump to it now because it fits. So the handshake, face-to-face networking, relationship marketing, if you will, which means the word relationship means it's an actual relationship, not just what can I get from you.
Totally.
It's a relationship to get, to give, to support that person at a business level and a personal level, and be a part of it. That's the most important thing. So what are you doing for your relationship marketing? Networking is one. Within the realm of networking, well, let me ask it like this. If you were to talk to a new business owner, as you do, sometimes you'll get a startup and you're building websites and you're trying to get them to come out of their shell. A lot of times maybe they're still a little shy. They're new to being in business and being on stage, theoretically speaking. How would you tell them that that's the number one best way? I run into this with photographers where they want to be behind the camera and not talk to anybody. It doesn't work. You're a photographer. You have to talk whether you're photographing product or humans. So a human owns that product or has designed it, and you have to deal with that person in any way. How do you get people to come out of that shell and really build that trust? I think networking helped me quite a bit by being in person. But what would you say to them?
I mean, it's all about practice. It's just like public speaking. I used to tell students, I tell people who are behind the mic for the first time, hey, this is going to be weird and awkward at first, but you're going to get used to it. I volunteered and went to the world's largest computer graphics conference. I still go to since 2008. And it's kind of weird. You go there, I didn't know anybody. I show up in Singapore knowing nobody in a foreign land. It's like, what am I doing here? This is weird. And I'm nervous. But then you have to remind yourself, what is everybody else here to do? They want to meet other people and learn. And so you have to remind yourself that if you're at a networking event, you're actually more awkward if you sit in the corner and don't say anything. Instead, people expect you to go, hey, I'm Josh. What's your name? Boom. I'll keep it real simple at first.
Love it.
You don't have to think about what the conversation is going to be or even put expectations on like, okay, I'm going to talk to these 5 people and I'm going to get business. No. Choose one person and just start talking to somebody and enjoy that conversation. Inevitably, you're going to get to business and get to the meat, but be authentic at first. Hey, what's your favorite color? Where are you from? Whatever. Do you play music? What's your favorite band?
We also go to conventions. We go to PPA, Professional Photographers of America. It's a huge organization, 30,000 members and so on.
Oof.
Their convention is massive. And I find the like-mindedness is the common denominator, so to speak.
Totally.
What brings people together? I can walk up to anybody at the PPA convention, and all we do is start talking about cameras or lighting or how are you selling your school portraits? I sit on a board, brand new member of this sub-board at PPA for what we call volume photography for people that do schools and sports and that where they're 500-600 portraits in a day or whatever, and we're planning the speakers and so on. Well, the things we have in common are our business. So there really isn't a lack of things to talk about. And I find in those groups, people that are that energetic to go and learn, there's no dumb questions either. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. You're in the right spot.
They want to answer your new question.
Exactly.
Let's take a moment and hear from our sponsors.
Thank you for tuning in. Do you like what you're hearing? Have you been thinking about starting your own podcast for your business? Well, we here at Naaman Creative can help. With our audio services ranging from custom music scores, podcast production, sound branding, and so much more, we can elevate your business needs with our audio services. So feel free to reach out to us today, and we'll be happy to help you get something started right away.
And don't you find also that when everybody in your industry, even if they're a block away from my business, if they're successful, we're successful, it raises the industry standards. We all do well.
100%.
So that's your teaching.
Yeah.
You're mentoring others in business and helping them come up in this world as well, whether they work for you or on their own. I have numerous photographers that I like to say I've raised because I'm older now, but helped to bring up in the industry. And they're out doing their things, and some of them have surpassed the teacher, and they're doing really well.
Oh, yeah, same.
So, yeah.
Same with some of my students. They're working on feature films, and I'm like, yeah.
I love it.
I'm happy and inspired by them. It goes both ways, but yeah.
It's a joyous spot to be in, that's for sure. So, all right, quick question, kind of off topic, but not totally. What drives you the most to get out of bed every morning to hit the ground running? Now, I know that we have family and all of that, but and that's important. But when it comes for inspiration in your daily work, what is it that pushes you? Because you're self-employed. You're not just clocking in somewhere. You're self-employed.
The main driver of my inspiration. It's funny because on my podcast, it's a question I ask literally every guest.
I love it.
When the turntables...
You've never had to answer it, have you?
Yeah. Okay. We kind of talked about it. Now my inspiration has shifted. It is my daughter. It is my family. It is building a legacy. But, I love using my talents to create things that weren't there, that do good in the world, help businesses who are doing cool things or good things. I've turned down work that doesn't align with us and wished them the best, referred them to other people. But I really want to keep in alignment with, we have these talents and these abilities to help build businesses and make cool things that weren't there before. And I'm inspired by what's next. Also for me, in building my business, I called it Naaman Creative intentionally because I want to keep it open. I've designed a board game that has cards involved. I want to build more shows. There's going to always be clients of ours, of course, but there's this other sector of our business where I want to work on our own productions and build cool things that we're all passionate about and pool our talents together to make cool music, to make games, to make shows, and to put good out there. This board game's not like going to change the world, but it's going to provide happiness for people. It's not going to be a negative influence in the world. And so as long as we keep that, I'm inspired by what's to come and all of the potential, and also bringing all that potential out in other people, like seeing the good and trying to be a force that's just more positive than the other direction.
Okay, that's an awesome answer. What I see in you is an innate creative ability and energy, and you need to fulfill that.
Yeah.
And you're doing it in the form of business, in a creative business where you can do that. And once you start filming, I know a photographer, phenomenal set photographer, just so you know. His name's Rob Moorman. You ever heard of him?
I think so.
You're going to need production stills. I'm just saying.
100%. I mean, that's the beauty of our partnership's awesome. We've worked on so many projects together at this point.
Yeah, we have.
It's so cool.
It is. It's been awesome, and I appreciate that. I mean, we've had jobs that have come together, and it appears that clients are always happy, and the two businesses lean on each other. And you have the talent and skill. You understand the camera and how it works, and, manipulating the technical controls for creative results is what I called it in my class, and all of that. But you're so busy doing other things that you can hand that off and know it's handled.
Happily.
So that's important. Let me ask you a different question. So this is me I'm talking about in this question, and you're actually kind of doing it. But you've got people that are getting started, so we've touched on that. They're startup businesses, you're helping them go. We've talked about continuity and all of that. So what about someone who's been in the game a while? That's me, okay? 27, almost 28 years as a full-time professional photographer. So the world around me changed fast. It really did. And I'm not behind the scenes. I'm too young to retire, but I'm too old to start from scratch. So I need to take what I have and make sure that it's being viewed visually in a modern sense to continue on working with a whole nother generation of people as clients that we can love and care for. What would you tell that person when you saw my website? You're like, got to change that, and we got to do this or whatever. And things got old because I had my head to the grindstone and I was doing photography. And then one day I looked up and went, I need to change everything. And here's this Naaman Creative. And here we are. So, but what would you say to that photographer? Because they still have a lot to offer, or that business owner, actually. They still have a lot to offer in the world and a lot to give back and a lot to hand down to the next generation. How can they become relevant?
Yeah. So number one is the relevancy of a trade or a craft or a set of skills. There are roots and foundations that ultimately are preserved, and those will last. Our knowledge of the principles of art, design, framing, lighting, right? The principles are forever, and those will always be needed. And same with business. The beautiful thing about business, and I think it's important whether you're new or old, whether you've been doing business for 2 years or 30, is that you need to know that there's no ceiling in business. There's always room for growth. That's why I'm addicted to it, is because sky's the limit, and we could do whatever, and we always should be growing. It's my opinion also on knowledge and education. I know someone very close to me who always used to tell me that he got his undergrad and he got his degree, and so then he checked out. He didn't need to learn anymore. And I'm like, whoa, I feel like it's totally opposite. There's always stuff to learn. And nowadays with technology, it is rapidly changing. And so if you don't keep up with it, you might fall behind, even if you crush it in your trade. If you just can keep up with it and make sure that you're at least aware of the technologies or the different marketing outlets, for instance, this podcast, this is, in my opinion, indirect marketing, but this is a marketing outlet that's not so new anymore, but it's still fresh.
Right.
And now taking advantage of this wonderful format and medium, I would encourage people that no matter what, let's not stop. No matter if you had a killer website, then it's like, okay, but you don't have a podcast. Great. Well, there's opportunity there. It's finding the opportunity or cleaning up the brand.
I find that when they stop, because I have friends all my age, right? And so they might stop. I think they're burnt out.
Yeah.
I think they find a place where they either need to find inspiration within the world they're in or maybe move it to another world. I have a photographer friend, I won't mention his name, but he had climbed the ladder at the National Association and had won every accolade you could think of in the industry. And having said that, when COVID hit and things got weird, he got out. I think it was just before COVID. And now he's a chef with every award you could think of. And he's nationally acclaimed and built a whole nother life for him in a whole nother world. And he's motivated and inspired again. So you either have to find inspiration within it or without it. So
that's why I like our realm, by the way, is also with the creative realm, with photography, with film, with production, with making things. You can always make something new.
Yes.
So I don't find myself ever not creating. No matter how old I get, I'm always going to have a bug of, well, what game can I make next?
And most creative people are that way. I've found anyways. They're the same.
We got a bug.
And, well, my wife has a degree in fine art from Florida State. And fascinatingly enough, she has a vocational degree in welding. And so she does some metal sculpture. And I'm excited because she can fix a boat trailer when it breaks. So that's the...
Practical.
Anyhow, that's kind of the fun thing about that situation. But she's constantly creating. And, of course, she's a Photoshop guru, in my opinion, and is managing the images at the studio beyond understanding. We're gearing up right now to handle a graduation in Orlando. The Homeschool Association, the Florida Parent Educators Association, probably have one of them on this podcast at some point. It's massive, and Florida is the largest in the United States. And their graduation will be 353 high school seniors. And as photographers, we'll have a team of 6 people, 3 photographers, and everybody else is managing and handling and sitting in a booth, selling packages and the whole process. And so right now I'm here podcasting and having fun with you, and she's stressing out. So we will wrap it up here in a minute because I'm going to have to get back to the studio. But an open topic for you before we pull a close is, what do you want to tell the world listening today? What is from Josh? What is your thing? The world of business.
The world of business?
Yeah.
Well, it would be similar to the world, but I mean, whatever you're doing, realize that you're contributing to the progression of the world, and like, are you promoting positivity with the products or services that you're offering? Are you moving the needle positively in some way? Are you putting out love? And is it peaceful? For me, again, it's like, what are we doing? I want to be able to sleep at night. I want to be able to show my daughter Nova that look at what we've done, and you can be proud of Papa in the future, because you could say, look, he was doing all he could and moving the needle in the right direction. Maybe not perfect, but I would just say that, continually self-evaluate. If you are not happy, or people are not happy, or you don't feel like something's right, then reflect on that. Take a day and say, is there a pivot that I can make to make things better? And if so, your business is going to increase because of that. I think people see that. People see the good in other people, and people want to do business with people who are nice, who are doing good, who are peaceful.
Josh, this was supposed to be a closing question, but something popped in my head.
And we got time.
Okay,
we
good.
Got time.
Good. I'm looking at Jordan, our tech. Everybody, hi, Jordan. He's over
Jordan.
there. Good. He is. All right. He is making sure we sound good and stay on time. The biggest thing is businesses giving back. So in my era, when I first started, businesses always gave back. They didn't talk about it. It was a given. If you were a successful company, you had 2-3 charities that your business gave to. There wasn't a drop down on the website or anything like that. It was more about being seen, and people knew, but it wasn't because you wanted the showmanship of it. It's because you just cared and gave back. So Moorman Photo has actually several, but there's 3 that they know, my staff at the studio knows that if these 3 charities call, the answer is yes, as long as I'm available and not already booked. And if I am already booked, I hire someone, pay them out of my pocket to go photograph a gala for a specific charity or whatever it is. It's just a yes, and we've always done that. I see today that it's spoken about a lot more. It's always gone on, but now it's open. And I think that's okay. I just don't want to do it just for business. Like, oh, look at us, this is what we do. That's not why I do it. I have this skill, this talent in this business. I can photograph that gala, get the images finished on time and out the back door and off to the client, and we don't miss it. It's so easy to give that way because I'm doing something for somebody that I always do every day anyways. You just throw it in the mix.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? And what should a business do to approach that? But you don't want to puff yourself up. That's not why we do it.
Yeah.
We do it to give back. And I think it depends on how old you are as to how you look at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's a lot of nuance there. I think ultimately you need to do what you feel is right. So like for you, giving away those services for free to those charities is fantastic. I think, marketing it every so often, say, hey, look, doing a post here and there. Hey, look, we're at this gala. We're supporting this charity. We give our services away for free. Not posting every day about it, but maybe dropping it here and there that, hey, we care. Because I think it's important also to inspire others to go, well, maybe I can care. Maybe as an accountant, we could give away our bookkeeping services to 3 charities a year or whatever it is. For Naaman Creative, we give all nonprofits a discount right off the bat and old pricing. Just blanket across all nonprofits, that's what you get. And they know it, and we don't really tout that. But, those entities know it, and that's enough for me. I think, the Create for Good mission aligns with that, and people might get a hint that we might do that already because of who we are. Also, when people interact with me, they start to put the picture together and can assume that, I think, that we would probably work with nonprofits and give them a little something, give them a break here or there. Also, like one thing that we do is each month I pay a monthly fee to offset our carbon emissions. So hopefully my daughter's proud of us for helping the earth in some way in the future, and we do what we can. But at the very, very bottom of our website, there's a tiny little bar, and it says carbon neutral since 2022.
Cool.
And on Earth Day, we share like, hey, we're carbon neutral. I think I've maybe said it like once or twice at NPI to encourage other people. Yeah. Other than that, we just do it because we know that that's right.
And I respect that. A business should give back.
Yeah.
Environmentally, if we have a product that maybe isn't as environmentally safe, but it's in high demand, coming up with a way to reduce that or to reuse that or to bring that back is important.
Yeah, whatever we can do.
But also just giving to others. And I think you'll say the same. Don't you find that it comes back tenfold every time?
Yeah.
I do.
I got a client, a nonprofit client. I mean, there were other factors, and but it helped again with that friction. There was little friction, but then they saw. She goes, "Oh, and I also noticed you guys are carbon neutral. How cool is that? You're my people." She said something like that, like, "You're my people. We're in alignment. Let's go."
Awesome.
And it was just, it also tells people like, "Hey, we care, and if you align with this, we're going to be good friends."
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Helping the environment's always a benefit. I've been a scuba diver for a long time, and I've watched the reefs down in the Florida Keys, especially the Key Largo area, go from this plethora of fish life and gorgeous, just teeming with life reefs to mostly bleached and dead and a few fish. And it breaks my heart. And it has to be found at the source and managed. The people in business, they didn't wake up one day and say, let's destroy the environment.
Sure.
They started a business. There was an aftermath of what they do, a product that was produced that was no longer needed, or however it ended up out there. And I firmly believe that most people don't get up and say, the heck with the environment, take everything and give nothing back.
Agreed.
But at the same token, once it's noticed, we need to jump in and do something to try to reduce that or change the way it's managed so that waste product isn't there anymore.
Absolutely.
I'm not an environmental guru, but I'm definitely for those, because I love people, and that affects people directly our health, the places that we play, and tourism here in the state, the whole thing.
The water that we drink.
Exactly. The food.
And there's so much business opportunity there.
Yes.
I mean, for renewable energy sources, cleaning our earth, there's so much. I think that's going to be an enormous sector that grows.
A new group down in the Keys. I will put out on my Facebook page here for you guys, all my social media, actually, where to find them. But they're growing new coral. Okay. And because of that, I thought, okay, we're growing new coral, but we haven't solved the problem. So you put the new coral in and it dies. Well, I'm no scientist, but I understand that this new coral is a different breed and it can handle the higher temperatures of water and thrive, but it's related to the breed that was there before. So these divers are going down and planting this stuff. So I'm definitely want to be a part of that. I'm pretty
Absolutely.
pumped. Yeah. Every time I see that, number one, I get to go diving again. But on the other hand, it's diving with benefit to the environment.
100%.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I'm down with that by all means. Well, we're going to move on just for fun, all right, and see what we have. A couple closing questions just for fun. All right, can you handle this?
I think I can.
Right. I took these questions. I won't say this every podcast, but there was a gentleman I watched, James Lipton. His show was Inside the Actor's Studio. He's passed now from what I understand, and that's a shame. James Lipton was an acting instructor and had given birth to many actually very famous actors. And he would close his little show that it was actually a big show, with these questions. And I don't have them all on here, but enough. And I was always fascinated by how he ended it. So we'll kind of work into it that way. So, Josh, what is your favorite word?
Oh, boy. Well, I mean, aside from my daughter's name or her saying Papa, I don't feel like that's fair. So that's like a cop-out. But those are, I mean, now it's...
No, that's
those
pretty,
are so meaningful.
That's pretty legit, actually.
That's legit.
Yeah.
But if I had to go further, it'd be like adventure or exploration, or like growth or expanding. I know I just said like 4 words.
Back
but
to that forward energy, that creative forward energy that you have. Yeah.
I love like discovering new things and learning new things and exploring the world. And so whether that be like adventuring into your own mind or adventuring into the world and growing from that, those kind of words. Also, refrigerator is a pretty fun word to say, or like cafeteria.
Well, on the risk of dad jokes, I would say that refrigerator is a very cool word, just so that you know. All right, enough of the dad jokes. All right, what is your least favorite word?
Oh, man. As cliche as it is, like hate or...
I agree.
You know, it's things like that where it's like, what are you doing? You're probably 98% on the same page, and you're letting 0.5% get in the way of you being peaceful and friends forever. But you're stuck, you know? So it's hate or like, I don't know what the word is, but if you think that you know everything or that there's nothing more to learn about something, you know, like stuck or siloed, you know, it's like there's so much room to expand and learn and to grow together and to be peaceful together in harmony. So those words of like negativity, it's like those just, they obviously need to exist, you know, yin and yang, but we need to use those as jumping off points to like understand each other
and to grow from. So if you get in a space where you've got that in your head temporarily from a negative event in life, it's as equally important to get out of it.
Yeah,
I agree with you. And those words, that one word can run very deep.
Yeah,
and there could be a conversation, and you feel bad. I feel bad for those that are stuck in that space.
Yeah, totally,
because they don't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, what turns you on?
Oh boy, okay. Cleanly, I mean, creating...
Wait, this is a clean podcast now. Come on.
Yeah. Creating something that wasn't there before. So, like, that's why I love making music. With my friend Jordan here, we have made music together, and there is nothing like it. When I make a design or, like, a logo that wasn't there before, and everybody's stoked, and then I see it out in the world, and on a stage or on a billboard or in use, there's just nothing like making something that wasn't there before and people now resonate with it. It's just a very cool thing.
Okay, so now What turns you off?
Closed-mindedness, people who think they know everything and they're stuck and they're not willing to reevaluate their viewpoints, whatever that may be. That just grinds my gears. It's like, man, just have you considered have you looked into this? Have you considered what it's like for that person? Or have you researched 1 hour on the other side of this topic? Because you might discover something and be better off or happier or more knowledgeable about what you know. You know, I feel like the more you know, the more you don't know. And so we all need to understand that, there is so much to learn. That's why I love the pursuit of science and the scientific method, because there is always more to learn about this vast universe. It's wild. And if you ever claim to know an answer, it's time to reevaluate.
That's excellent advice if you want to know the truth, especially in a world that's very polarized at the moment.
Yeah.
I've lived in a world that wasn't, because I've been around 58 years, but now it is. And I do believe at some point we'll turn back to where we're not as polarized again. There's always differences, but that advice you just gave is phenomenal. So let's have fun with this. What sound or noise do you love?
My daughter coming in the morning to wake me up and going, Papa.
Perfect.
Now that's my favorite noise ever. Others is there's some sweet tones on guitars and music. And this person to my right, Jordan, I played music with him. He has written some songs that nobody has heard, only like a handful, maybe 10 people in the world have heard, that are absolute gems. I mean, hits. And the particular vibes and sounds that he can get and that others can get, it sets you into a particular mindset or space that I love. When I hear things like that, it's hard. I know this is a convoluted answer, but there are particular ways that someone can pose sounds together that put you in a place that are like addicting. And I love that.
I love that. That's
Papa.
Well put. Yeah, Papa, of course. I'm a music fan, as you know, and I absolutely love, and I play a little bit. So I'm thinking one of these Camera Dude podcasts, we're going to bring Jordan in, drums. We'll bring in the Cajon drum box, and we'll get a little jam session going and just air that. That sounds like
we'll make it a
thing.
live recording.
So what sound or noise do you dislike?
Oh, man. I accidentally do it all the time with our silverware on the plate. And it like screeches.
Oh, the same as the old, which maybe you wouldn't know, the chalkboard mentality.
The chalkboard,
oh, gosh, that's awful.
Also, peaking of like levels of either peaking of a level of a song where it's like, and you can't hear it, or when a song is destroyed with the fidelity. Like if someone downloads a song, pirates a song, and then it's got all these artifacts of the web, and then on top of that, if they play it through their phone, I'm out. Get me out of that room.
Yeah. That high-pitched little telephone, microphone, speaker, and it's horrible. I can't stand it either. I'm a junkie for old audio gear because I was an audio head back in the day, and I have a good friend who buys and sells and repairs and rebuilds old 80s, 90s audio gear. So I've been blessed with this Carver system at home. I missed it. I hadn't had one. I had a little Bluetooth speaker, which was hideous. And now I can sit on my couch, immerse into the music with the whole system and love it. The only artifact I want to hear is a crackle and a pop from the needle on a record every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I love being separated. Now, listen, I added a streaming device to it, and I stream, so it's not fully non-modern. But I like to listen to music sometimes and be totally disconnected.
Yep.
I don't need to share what I'm listening to right now. I don't need to because it's a break for me. Is there anything wrong with all that sharing? Of course not. That's how I learn new music. It's a great way. But to just be unplugged and put that record on and sit there long enough without staring at my phone, because I am a social media addict, I have to say. I'm working on that, but I became one.
Yeah.
So it's important. I love that. All right. What profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I guess music, I could be considered a professional because I've been paid to do it over and over.
I've jammed with you. You're pretty good.
I appreciate that. But there's always, man, there is no ceiling there, too. Holy moly.
Oh, no, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
I know.
It would be really cool to be a pilot. I would love to like fly a fighter jet one day. I mean, it would be so cool. That's what I was actually, before I knew that you could get into computer graphics and work on film as a career, although it's like, duh, Josh, shoot, like there are people, but I wanted to be a pilot. But yeah, things progressed in a different way, which I'm very happy about.
So what profession would you not like to do?
Oh man, accounting, bookkeeping, anything with
Just pull my
focusing
hair
on the
out,
numbers.
right?
Yeah, no, that is just the opposite of what I want to do. Thankfully, I have a great bookkeeper who takes all that off my plate, and I only think about it once a month, and I make sure I check my bank account here and there to make sure that the number is okay. And that's it.
I love it.
It's
Well, and that's why. So part of being in business is knowing what you're not good at and filling those holes with people that do that. I have friends that love to crunch numbers. One of them will be on this podcast too. And I just think there's something wrong. I can't. I don't want to sit there.
We're on the
that
other
long.
side of things. So yeah,
Cool.
We're on the other side.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm going to steal a format from the Hot Ones YouTube video because I like what he says at the end. And so he looks at the camera, but instead we have mics, and he says, this mic, this mic, this mic, or this mic. Tell the world how they can find you and what you're up to.
I love it. Hot Ones is great.
It's the best.
I actually have an idea for a show that is based on the Hot Ones format that hopefully is another thing that we'll be building in the future. But anyways, what we're doing, we're helping build businesses nationwide. So if you're a business that's established or just starting out, I'd love to talk to you about where you are, where you're going, what are your goals. Because we talked about networking and like getting in front of people. That is obviously like the most powerful networking or form of marketing. But
So
you need to have.
Not to interrupt, I apologize, but what networking group can they find you at?
Oh,
One that takes
sure.
place right here, right?
Of
in this
course.
building. So tell them how to find that.
So yeah, I started a leadership organization called Sun Leaders, and we meet the first and third Fridays of every month, and we're here at the Florida Nest here in St. Pete. It's free to come. It's awesome. We have featured speakers, and we talk about leadership and community and collaboration. It's a great group of people. It's wild. We're about to have our 16th meeting.
And the website's, again?
Sunleaders.org.
.org.
So
Okay,
we're just
very good.
wrapping the bow on that.
And someone who's starting their business listening to all the things we talked about, how do they find you?
Yeah, certainly. So like I was going to say is the other aspect to marketing is you've got to have the digital footprint. You've got to have a solid website, solid brand. You should be present on social media because those are all powerful forms. So we are at NaamanCreative.com, NAAMAN creative.com. And you can find us on social media platforms at NaamanCreative. You can email me directly, josh@NaamanCreative.com. And happy to just have a conversation, consultation, sit down, and see what's up.
I love it. Josh, glad you're here. Pumped. As far as I'm concerned, you're a rock star. So just so you know, you're
Thanks.
owning it. And I'm excited to have spent time discussing business and life with you. So
Me too.
look forward to more. And I look forward to doing more business with you as well. Truly
Me too.
do.
Thanks,
So,
Rob.
For everybody listening, thank you for hanging out with us on the Camera Dude podcast. Remember, always reach out to those that have paved the way ahead of you for success. They are a great resource. Until the next one, stay safe, be peaceful, and always look up for directions in life.
Thanks for tuning in to the Camera Dude Podcast. Don't forget to visit us at cameradudepodcast.com for more episodes and exclusive content. Connect with Rob Moorman on MoormanPhoto.com to explore his professional photography. And when you're ready to hit the road, make memories at SunburstRVResort.com. Until next time, keep capturing moments and chasing dreams. See you on the next episode of the Camera Dude Podcast.